It's Lady Myya. Hello, you guys, and we are back. We are back with another podcast. Here have Dr. Alison J Kay. Yes. And so, yes, she's a doctor. This is what we're going to talk about. We're going to see why she decided to be a doctor and how can this impress you. So please welcome Dr. Alison J Kay.
Hey,
Hello,
Myya. Hi, I'm happy to be here with you. And my doctor is a doctorate. I have a doctorate in holistic life coaching, so I'm not an MD. Let's just be clear about that.
No, I hear you.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. Okay, so holistics. Tell us about your doctorate in holistics.
Well, I remember when I was in college, my bachelor's program, my mom, actually, let's back up. When I was 12, my mom said, "You're really good with people. You seem to naturally understand them. Why don't you think about being a psychologist?" My mom was so intuitive, and we had such a close relationship that I knew to listen to her on this one and not question, because I definitely questioned, but not there then. So I did. And like by the third semester, sitting there learning what I was learning, I realized I'm not getting any information about how to be the happiest, most thriving version of myself and how to help others do that. I'm getting this information about like the hardwiring of the brain and how to use that in management settings for capitalistic purposes. It just was so like far removed from the basics of like what makes a human do what they do and how do we be the happiest, most thriving versions of ourselves. So I switched majors. And ever since then, I've been looking at holistically. Ever since then, I've been looking for the responses to that question: how do we be the happiest, most thriving versions of ourselves? And have been led to different aspects of the holistic model, like first meditation, then energy medicine, and then yoga, and then qigong, and all sorts of stuff along the way. So, including living in Asia for a decade, actually. So, energy medicine, subtle energy, that's really captured my awareness and attention as like this is one main way to shift people when they feel stuck.
No, I understand that completely. I mean, I know that most of us, we feel that way right now. We feel like we may be stuck or whatever, and we know we want to take a step, but we don't understand what exactly that step is going to look like next. And, this is why I feel so compelled to talk to people that have been able to take that step, certainly. So tell me this, what made you go in that direction? Do you have a story or something that, just kind of compelled you to do so?
Well, beyond what I just said, I actually want to go back to what you said about how people want to know what it's going to look like when they feel stuck, right? And they want to take that step. And from everything I've seen and experienced and have been trained in, expecting us as we're going into the unknown, which we have to do if we want something new, something different, we have to go into the unknown, and expecting to have an understanding of what that's going to look like is unreasonable. And so it's almost like a catch-22. People set themselves up for disappointment in expecting. So in our mind, we call it the ego mind in meditation, the part of us that we're sitting there observing its thoughts in meditation and observing how quickly it fires out thoughts and jumps from one thought to a completely unconnected other thought, and all of that we observe. That's the ego mind, and its job is to keep us feeling safe on planet Earth, because around your head right now, around my head right now, around any of you listeners' heads right now, there is so much going on metaphysically, which meta is the prefix that simply means beyond. So beyond the physical, our five senses have physical thresholds on them, so we only sense to a certain degree, so we don't go nuts, because there actually is so much data that we can be seeing, and we can be hearing, and we can be tasting and touching, etc. So we have these thresholds, and overall, our ego mind system is there to keep us safe and protect us and help us navigate the physical plane, while it's actually multidimensional. There's many levels to it, and there's much beyond what our physical five senses can pick up as we're in a body sitting here listening. So that helped us when we were in jungles and lions and tigers and bears. Oh my, do I fight? Yeah. Or do I go into flight? And it's still wired for that. So when you're faced with the unknown, knowing that you feel stuck and you want to do something different, expecting your mind to have like supportive thoughts is just unrealistic. Expect resistance, expect wanting to know how it's going to work out. Without knowing how it's going to work out, expect like these unrealistic expectations, expect your mind to be resistant and do it anyway.
Right. No, I think that is so true. That's so funny. I just had that conversation today.
I love it.
We think so small compared to what the universe, the
Perfect.
size of the universe, you know?
Yes, Lady Myya. By God, yes.
We put ourselves in boxes. We cap ourselves. We don't look at it as we have the opportunity to have the things that we say we want. We don't even walk in.
Yeah.
When we don't walk in that, it's messed up, because it's like you're sitting there, you're trying to figure out, how do I get out? How do I get out? But you didn't even think of what you wanted to do once you did get out. Like, what are you doing? What's the whole purpose or the premise of even getting out there when you don't even know what that is?
Yeah, I have my first books that I wrote actually started out as my doctorate's dissertation, and it became What If There's Nothing Wrong? And when I moved back to the States, that was written by me my 10th year over in Asia at a traditional tea house, and the title being What If There's Nothing Wrong? It's like what you just said. It's the whole perception that people that our conditioning is geared to is to perceive that there's something wrong and to expect something wrong, and in fact to expect ourselves to only go for change when there is something wrong, rather than understanding what you said, where we cap ourselves unnecessarily. Especially right now on planet Earth, there is so much new coming in that wants to be birthed through us, where we just need to kind of get out of the way a bit with that ego mind and allow, and there's procedures I do and processes I do to help people with this, to allow our smaller will to kind of match up with the divine will and our own higher self's will, to be able to create beyond the previous limitations, both for ourselves individually, but also collectively as a society and as a global community. You know, I mean, there's so much more becoming possible right now, and just living in the question instead of wanting to like ask the question. So what is it that my heart wants to do in this next year? Like, don't make it, lifelong. Don't make it so big that your intuition can't bring it in. And then you may not get an answer right there. And the ego mind likes to get the answer right there and then. You may need a night's sleep, or you may have it come in through an email or a new contact or an event, somebody you meet. And so when you're asking, if you live in the questions and you keep asking questions like, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? Are two really good ones from Access Consciousness. And I've been asking what else is possible and how does it get any better than this way before I ever learned about Access Consciousness. That's what brought me to Asia. How do I get even more robust results for my clients? And how does it get any better than this with the teaching job I had in the classroom? And so I had to come together, and I ended up over in the international school system in Asia for a decade. But the point being is that there's just so much more possible. And if you're expecting your mind to have 5 targets, step 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and you follow them as if a plan and a strategy, and it's all from the mind, it just doesn't work that way anymore. We really only can do one step at a time, and then see what else comes in, follow our guidance, readjust, see what else comes in. It's just not the same anymore, life on planet Earth.
No, it is very, oh my goodness. You hit on everything. On everything.
Rock on!
Because I think it's so important. Most times we don't we don't think about what can be, or we do think about it, but we think about something that is so all off of where we're supposed to be. Like, okay, I see this person's life. I want to be like them. That's not you.
Yeah.
You're supposed to be like you, not them.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why didn't that work? I didn't understand, and I did this and I did that, and I it was supposed to work, and because that's what they did. No, it wasn't for you. So I understand. A lot of us, we just kind of really, really try to hone in on, if we can hone in on our own spirits and really just kind of listen to our heart and our mind's eye. It's just one of those things that can lead us in a better situation that you probably haven't even thought of yet. So what do you say?
I feel like it's like the way to live now. Like, I feel like if we don't join up with our intuition, we're going to face suffering.
Yeah.
And helping people learn how to follow it and trust it, and have the understanding that you're not going to trust your intuition, but doing it anyway. Like, in understanding even how to distinguish the intuitive guidance versus your mind sticking firm to something it really wants to hear, and then you convince yourself, oh, that's intuitive guidance, that game.
Yes, I do.
Yeah. So it's like I spend day in and day out doing all of these different energy medicine clearings and activations on people to help them do what we're talking about. And the comparison thing, Lady Myya, you were talking about, it's so spot on, because it's like, when I came back from Asia, I was in the second year. I had dropped the classroom teaching and administrating and took the energy medicine and coaching business full time. So I got asked by Voice America to do a radio show on the Mayan galactic alignment on December 21st, 2012. I had been doing nothing at all in my business whatsoever around that. I didn't know why they had reached out to me to cover that topic, or even why they reached out to me, but they did. And I said, okay. I asked them, can I call you back in 48 hours? Let me think about it. Yep. So I did. And it was just such a full body yes. It was like a billboard size, neon lettered, all caps, yes, blinking on and off. And there was no denying it. So I did it. And during that time, my second book is a lot about this. I interviewed a bunch of specialists and experts on what it meant. And I mean, I was taking people on retreats to the Mayan ruins down in the Yucatan in Mexico. And I ended up on a cruise as a yoga teacher and energy medicine practitioner with a bunch of these specialists, taking us to Chichen Itza down in the Yucatan on December 21st, 2012. And we were with a Mayan shaman. We got special permission and had a special ceremony with the Mayan shaman right there. And the ground was pulsating under my feet. It was wild. And it wasn't. The year before, when I had taken a special VIP client on retreats there, my feet weren't vibrating. It was just, and there were TV crews there from all around the world. I learned later I actually showed up on television as far away as Poland because it was such a big deal. And that date marked a 20-year window that we're only just now halfway through of what is the subtitle of my second book, Humanity's Greatest Evolutionary Leap. So we've just spent about 10 years with everything we know and we have known basically crumbling wherever it's out of alignment. And rebalancing as we spend the next 10 years moving into all of us creating more aligned businesses, lifestyles, acts of consumerism, governmental organizations, education, healthcare, politics, everything. And so there's a massive amount of rebalancing happening. And one of them is the masculine and the feminine. And I don't mean gender only. In each masculine, there's the feminine. It's like the yin yang, right?
Mm-hmm. I do
Yeah.
know that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh,
So,
wow.
so the point that I just want to make about the comparison thing is that the comparison thing comes from the more yang energy when we're out there and in the capitalistic paradigm of, not that we're not capitalistic still, but the competition that comes with comparison. That's all an out of balance yang or masculine energy, whereas the feminine's coming in more now to be balanced with that around community, cooperation, collaboration. So to balance out where it's been out of balance, the competition, and where the capitalism has been out of balance, where the comparison with others has been out of balance. And so, yeah, you talking about comparison is old, and it's nonsensical, because I've spent years in tens of thousands of dollars learning how to clear karma. It's really tricky, and there's a way to speed up just kind of waiting for a karmic contract to end and a situation to end. And so I do that amongst many other things. And from what I've seen in people's systems, mind, body, spirit system, when I say system for holistic approach, the mind, body, spirit system, we each carry over so much from past lives. And it's just illogical. It's irrational to compare yourself, listener, to anyone else, because you've had the background you've had and nobody else has. You came into this life with like 2, maybe 3 core soul patterns to evolve beyond, that the person next to you, even though they may look like you, they may sound like you, they may be the same age, same birthday even, still has different 2 or 3 core patterns to move beyond. It's called our soul's dharma, to move beyond the old patterns and evolve beyond them. So you're laughing. What's going on over there?
I'll tell you after the recording.
Okay.
It's so funny though. You're going to get a kick out of it. But at the same time, I love everything that you said, like the spirits and just how, we think and we're out of balance, and things didn't always, it doesn't always look so good. And so, a lot of us just see out of bleak glasses at that point. So it's just it's hard to really get a grasp on that sometimes. And I think that's the reason mostly, for where people are right now. I've spoke to a few different people, that they're just not sure what the next step is supposed to be, and having that uncertainty, like you said, is just destroying. It really is. And this is why we do what we do, because I do believe you, Dr. Kay. Like, we do this thing because we know that some people, they might get their inspiration for like one day, and that very next day it's woe is me, and they're singing, ho hum the rest of the week. So it's just like, what is your lane? Where are you supposed to be? Have you even like talked to yourself or your inner self, or just had enough silence long enough to figure that out, or figure out how, so it's just, I'm sorry. No, we were talking about you. So
no, I'm not here to talk about me, frankly. I'm here to talk about what you want to talk about to serve your audience. I mean, I already know my story. I mean, if you guys want to know, go to my website. I don't kind of want to bore you, It's like people want help right now. And so why talk about myself, so unless I can inspire you. And so my story, bottom line, is I've always been I have never bought into struggle. So if we want to talk through story form, here's one. Saturday morning, I'm looking at my checkbook. This is in like the 2000s. This is 1999. And I'm a classroom teacher. I'm teaching at an inner city school. I have a master's at that point, and I'm running energy medicine sessions alongside my teaching career as a second revenue stream. And I'm teaching the kids in the inner city school in a club, Qigong and meditation. And I'm teaching adults meditation too. So I'm doing as much around teaching in the classroom with energy medicine and meditation and Qigong as I was doing, I would say, in my full-time job. So Saturday morning comes by. I have to balance my checkbook. Yes, it was before we digitalized everything. And I was looking at it and I was like, man, all I'm doing is asking for like basic housing, basic car, organic produce, sure. Organic food, sure. Massage a week, sure. But that's what I consider preventative health 101. I wasn't looking for anything exorbitant or living high off the hog, so to speak. And it wasn't easy. enough for me. And I wasn't okay with that. And then I also had this sense like, man, I want to be in this, like I had already lived and traveled around at different times in my life. As a high school senior, I went to Venezuela as an exchange student. So I had already seen some of the world, and I had already, and that wasn't the only example, but I just knew there was more of a sense of adventure and fun to life and abundance, and that it wasn't meant to be hard. I've always known it is not meant to be the struggle that the advertising companies and that the mainstream media, and that we are told by superstitions like Murphy's Law, and like we see other people saying, I'm just waiting for the shoe to drop. I never ever felt that intuitively was an accurate read on life. So I have always asked, how does it get any better than this? What else is possible? And so that Saturday morning, I'm like, this is unacceptable. How does it get any better than this universe? What else is possible? And so at the same time, I was asking that earlier question. I said, from a session with a woman, she was getting great results. And I wanted even better, more robust results. So it was that same week doing a session for her. I said, universe, how do I get even more robust results for my clients? So within a month's time, I got hooked up with the international school system. Did what I had to do, went to a place in the United States where I had a bunch of interviews throughout the weekend with the different heads of the different schools from around the world that all flew into this one hotel in this one city, and a bunch of people like me went and interviewed, and I had job offers around the world, and I chose to go to Asia because I knew that was the seat of who understood energy, subtle energy and energy flow and meditation and yoga, but that they were still using it. Like in the West, it went underground into mystery schools. We used to have this understanding. So that's an example of my story of me just not okay with the suffering. I think it's bullshit. And you're buying into somebody else's storyline who hasn't done work on their own inner consciousness to have them say that life is full of suffering. We're not here to suffer. Not anymore.
Yes. You tell me.
There you go.
I love this. Oh my goodness. Okay, so you've done this. You've been all across the world. You've studied. You've gotten connected with that. Like, what was the last thing that took you to come back to the United States? Like, was it that you felt like your journey was over, or it just needed to be transferred?
It needed to be transferred. I was becoming extremely aware, Lady Myya, that there's more than how do I say this? There was unnecessary suffering in the West because we don't live in a society in the West that entrains us the value of the heart and the value of looking inside. Now we're increasingly becoming more valuing of the heart and its capacities rather than the brain and the intellect and its capacities. But the understanding, instead of the training to run from what's inside your mind, either by medication or going to a psychotherapist and telling the same story over and over again and reviewing traumas and childhood suffering. This is in part also why I left that psych major. So I felt like there's this conditioning we have in the West that makes us think that if I go look inside my own head, like a meditation practice, or I really go inward and listen to really what's in there, I'm going to find my crazy, or there's going to be a boogeyman under the bed, and hell no, and running from it. So this whole external focus. And so I knew I came back to the West with that mission, and knowing that, because like I would be on vacation in between semesters during Chinese New Year in Thailand, and I'd be in Bangkok, their capital city, and I'd see a monk in his orange robes, and he'd be smoking a cigarette in one hand and on his cell phone in another. And then back in Taiwan, where I lived day to day, I'd be on my scooter going to the morning market for fresh veg and produce, and there'd be a monk in gray robes pulling away on her scooter with plastic bags full of fresh veg. So I'd be like gassing up my scooter, and behind me would be like a 6-story high statue of Buddha or Guan Yin. And so for me, as a person who went over there as a meditator and already an energy medicine practitioner, my eyes were like, oh my God, there's reminders everywhere to go inside and do the work within, and that self-management is expected. That I can't walk around blaming something, no matter my background, no matter my socioeconomic status of my family, no matter my race, no matter my gender. I can't blame anything outside of me. If I've had any of these situations that have caused me suffering, let me do the inner work to move beyond it so I can live in the possibilities, irregardless of anything that you can very logically point to and blame as a sticking point. I'm not negating all of those political factors or socioeconomic factors or historical factors. I'm not. But what I'm saying is, okay, so live as a victim and be stuck, or move out of living as a victim, whether it's to something outside of you or your own limiting beliefs, and live in the possibilities, because that's what we're here to do now. Yeah. So that's why I came back. The timing, and it was time for this message. And I've been sticking to it like glue. And around 2019, 2018, actually, I started to see and sense it was starting to hit threshold. Like so many more people interested in law of attraction. So I'm not saying I'm the only voice for this whatsoever, but I could see that the work I had been doing diligently for years, more people go into yoga studios or meditation apps or blah, blah, blah. So here we are today. And post-COVID, really, so I feel like COVID may have been required to kind of be like the bottom dwelling net on a river to pick up the salmon for people who like hadn't done the shifting and hadn't like started to look at managing their own levels of stress or managing their inner world.
That is deep. That is so deep. I'm sitting here like, you did what? Like when? Like, to understand another culture, and I'm pretty sure, and I've talked to, I just recently spoke with a German gentleman, and he was just saying how, like, they don't really understand why we are so far gone from the natural order. And I was just like, because they've already looked at it as they don't want that. They want everything but. And it's like, now we're all out of alignment because you chose to do that, You coming over here, however, has given us not only, well, not just you, I'll say that, I'm sorry, but not just you, but the people that do come back that still have those beliefs, just that gentle spirit, just being able to even look inward to actually make sure that we are taking care of inside before we can take care of outside. I think that is a tremendous thing, because like we're not doing that, a lot of us aren't. I'll say, I've been I guess in and out, with it, usually I do as much meditation as possible. I do, try to align my chakras as often as possible, but sometimes you're just so overwhelmed.
Indeed.
And you're just like, I don't know if I did that right. So there's that. But definitely looking inside is definitely one of those things that you definitely need to do. Definitely. I love everything that you said. I really do. And I only hope that, I can do some justice as well with you, and that we can kind of conspire to do something just like an event or something, because I think that would be like totally awesome. It really would be.
Wow, I'm always game. I'm always game. What a sweet invitation. I mean, I want to go back though. So yes, Lady Myya, we'll talk more in the future about that, or tomorrow, whatever the future means when I say that. But you said something about having to align your chakras every day and the inner work. And I guess all I mean by doing the inner work is where, let me put it this way. The scientific studies have shown that it's 85% of our minds are controlling what we choose day to day. From all the thousands and tens of thousands at this point, people I've worked with and observed, including myself, it seems like it's much higher than that. Like I'd go with 90%. So that means that when you learn to drive a car, you're saying out loud, or you're teaching one of your kids to drive, you're saying the stuff out loud, like shift into reverse, shift into drive, or put foot on brake, put foot on gas. Yeah.
Right.
But you don't say that now when you get in your car, do you?
Nope, don't even think about it.
Right.
Just do it.
Right. So that's what I'm talking about. Like, so when we will eat something instead of something else, when we're at the grocery store and we buy something instead of something else, or we're at a party and we're single and we're looking to date, and we have a pattern with like we're a female and we have the bad boy pattern, we're wanting to come out of the bad boy pattern, but we haven't done any of the quote unquote inner work. We'll naturally like not see that, not notice that, or talk to that sensitive, softer guy. We won't even see him. We'll just like kind of pilot towards that bad boy. Right. So when we do the inner work, it allows us to come out of why we would even be gravitating towards the bad boy. And as we do run clearings and activations on our beliefs, whether or imprints from our parents or our karma or traumas or conditioning, and there's other things that we can clear out of that back of the house consciousness, then we have more awakened, fresh consciousness at our disposal on a daily basis to then choose new choices from. So that means we have more of our potential able to be connected with. So when I talk about this inner work, I don't mean like it's about a 5-minute, I'm not saying you do this at all, it's about a 5-minute YouTube clearing on the chakra system. It's, from what I know about the chakra system, everything I've seen about it, it's the combination of the mind, the intersection of the mind, body, and spirit. And like I've had other trainings in how to assess what's going on in somebody's system, whether it's bodily or mentally or emotionally or spiritually. And nothing has ever been like, have you ever heard if somebody has their foot or knee or hip sore with chronic pain, that means they're afraid of moving forward?
I heard that once and I dismissed that right away. Like, nope.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, because so there's this way the body does communicate metaphorically. It absolutely does. But to use those metaphors as a diagnostic system is just completely unreliable. Whereas every chakra of the 7 covers a main domain of life. And so if I'm working to undo somebody's physical pain or a physical illness or diagnosis, or hopefully and preferably at the mental and emotional level or spiritual level, because it's easier before it becomes something physical. The chakra system is the most reliable to use. And so I can go in and clear beliefs around what I know to be involved in that chakra, but more so listening to my intuition as I'm sitting with a client or a group of people and understanding what's blocking them. And just, I mean, I live in constant flow with my intuition. So it's like it's a path, and it's a bunch of processes, and it's not going to be gotten from listening to like a YouTube singing bowl for your 5th chakra one time, or like once a day over a week. Like it's a unraveling process. And I know that a lot of people out there don't know what I mean when I say inner work. And that's what I mean, like going, like letting somebody get your back and coach you on your beliefs and bring forward some people are calling it shadow nowadays. That's a trendy word. I don't like to use that word. I mean, Carl Jung coined that phrase, shadow, like the limiting beliefs. So the limiting beliefs, like just by getting somebody who's proficient at clearing them to start doing it and coaching you on mindfulness. Like there's enough of it out there nowadays that people know what I'm talking about.
It is. I guess I go by the light. A light worker, and so I work with that and try to kind of get it together. But not all the time am I in the mindset to do so. And I think you know, with what you're saying, however, it sounds a lot easier and not as what's the word? I guess confined, you know, because it's just like, okay, no, you need to, and the way you're saying it's like more like it's okay, come when you can, but you know, but when you do, just put the real work in, you know, as if.
Hold on a second, let me help you. So it's not separate. The spiritual work isn't separate from the material.
Okay.
So what I'm sensing and what I'm interrupting you for, and I apologize for that, but what I'm interrupting you actively for is to help you out with what you were saying, because I am making it more accessible. Like, you got a beautiful smile you have. Like you're saying, it's easier. It seems easier the way I'm presenting it, and it's only because I do this work as a way of rebalancing the material with the spiritual, rebalancing the physical with the metaphysical. Because, I mean, one of the sayings from traditional Chinese medicine is, where qi goes, blood follows. Qi is their way of saying life, vital life force energy. Right? So where energy goes, or where vital life force goes, blood follows. Or, interpreting it even more, where energy goes, the physical follows. Go to quantum physics. It's all energy first, and then it's physical matter. And depending on what you're doing in your energy, then what shows up in the physical plane or the material plane is what results. So where do you have your power? In your energy. And so then, if we add on, where my consciousness goes, vital life force or chi follows, and then blood follows. So where our consciousness is focused, whether it's unconscious, subconscious, or actually our conscious mind, then the energy will go, or not flow, because the belief may be blocking the chakra. So the chakra means wheel, it can't turn the vital life force energy, so it's stuck. So all I'm talking about is our own power is not outside of us. It's within us, and we access more of it the clearer we get with the old beliefs, the more awakened consciousness we have, and the more it's going to be infused with divine light. So I'm not talking about beliefs about like something on the top of the Himalayas, or needing to go to an ashram to learn. I'm talking about, like, how do you perceive you're supposed to be in business? How do you perceive that you're supposed to be in your most intimate relationship? What are your beliefs and conditioning around being a mom? And how is that detracting from your life now? Or how is that limiting you now? So I apply these to everyday life, and just as you go about your life doing normal things, it's not about removing and stepping back and doing the spiritual work, quote unquote. It's about, like, as you're driving and you're realizing you're pissed off because you're having road rage, you ask yourself, well, you do the inner work. In that moment, you call yourself on it, and you get some support when you're not driving to help you deal with clearly suppressed anger.
Clearly. I hear you on that one. Road rage is something real, ain't it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't mean to imply that road rage, like people acting like shitheads in traffic, isn't real.
Okay.
It is, and it doesn't mean that you have some big reservoir of buried anger that you're going to need to spend years clearing out. All I mean is that just there's going to be some beliefs in there that make you more predisposed to getting triggered by what others are doing, rather than you being okay with what others are doing, and you're able to stay centered without reacting. That's all I mean.
No, I hear you. I really do. I think, I don't know what I was watching, but something was saying along the lines of, why can't we, like, really think things through? Why do we go from 0 to 180 before, like, you can say boo? Like, it's just crazy. It's like, okay, yeah, something's not right with that whole situation. Like, bring it back, come back.
No.
Now what? Like, you done overreacted, used up all your energy, and you tired. You ready to go?
You got it. Yeah. And then you have to do all the extra work to make up for that reaction and that reactivity.
See, that doesn't make any sense to me. I'm like, you know what? Hey, do what you want to do. Wear yourself out. Take a nap. Go to sleep.
And sometimes a nap is exactly what's needed, and the only thing that will work is like the reboot.
Yes. Yes.
The restart sometimes.
Up like wrong side. They said, you used to say what? The wrong side of the bed. You used to wake up on the wrong side of the bed. Like, some people literally wake up on the wrong side of the bed, like mentally. They're just like, I'm just not in a good place. I did a revamp from something that happened in further on or in my past or however, and just never really dealt with it. So I'm just going to wake up on that notion. And now you're ready to, like, knock down every wall, building, take out kids and everything else. You're like, was all that really necessary?
Hey, so Lady Myya, let me give you this different perspective, because this is something that happened for me living over in the East. You know how we can do what you just described in our culture and get away with it? Like,
How about that?
yeah, like displays of anger and frustration outwardly directed at others.
Mm.
Um, I'm not saying it doesn't happen in the East, but there's this whole concept around you lose face when you react publicly. You have to manage yourself.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so also, like, I was sitting there with the dean of, I was the head of the English department. I was sitting there with the dean in my international school, and she was going through my teachers in my department. And if a teacher had spoken to the Chinese administrators with a short temper, or with lack of kindness and lack of softness, she wasn't rehiring them.
Well,
So
makes sense.
managing of the tone, managing of the reactivity, managing of the frustration and anger, like all of that was expected in that environment. Yet, and you would lose face and people would look down on you. And in fact, sometimes I was getting messed with by the locals at the gym when I was working out, because they wanted to get me to react. You know, because foreigners are known to react more, whereas they're known to manage themselves.
Right.
So they used to like push us, right?
Yeah.
Just to test if they felt like a jerk that day. So that's a whole nother level of what I'm talking about too. Like that ability that I can just walk around, I can beat my kids, or I can yell at my wife, or I can criticize my employees, or I can bash my partner, or I can go online and spew vitriol. You know, I mean, like, it's just not acceptable in many other cultures. You know, and so that's in part what I mean too by self-management, because all of that means that you're going to end up having that come back at you, mate. You know, just deal with it before you even let it get out there, because it's yours, not somebody else's.
I used to have the rubber band on my hand.
Yeah.
If I felt like too sad or anything, because I was I was bullied, so I was very low key. I didn't want to take any attention at all.
Yeah.
And so I would use the rubber band to distract me from what I was thinking, you know. And I think sometimes we need like that constant distraction, something that can get us to like not think about that real quick.
Yeah. I call it's like this. In meditation, it's a redirect. Just redirect your attention off of, like, I'm feeling vulnerable, or somebody could say something mean to me, or I need to take all these different steps to protect myself, because I'm always going to have people coming at me with their shite. And instead just like click that rubber band or do something like that and redirect. Like, that's the advanced mindfulness, where you're aware of your mind shrinking back from life due to past experiences, and instead say, okay, I hear you, acknowledge it, what your mind's assessing based on the past, but then redirect it. How does it get any better than this? But what else is possible? So that's why I run the clearings and activations on the back of the house, trapped consciousness that we don't hear, because subconscious, sub means under, unconscious means means not. So we don't hear those thoughts, over 85% of what we're creating our lives from. So the thoughts we do hear in your example is, if that's not how you want to be anymore, and you want to move beyond that pattern, then a redirect is needed. And it is a constant, a crucial moments in creating new neurological pathways and creating new behavioral patterns. It is almost constant. But it gets easier when you get clearings and activations like what I do. That's why I do it, because it cuts the mind-body connection, so you don't walk around with that trigger. It clears out that block, and then that consciousness, like I said, becomes awakened, so you have more of it at your disposal to be more mindful with.
Right.
So it's easier for you. You don't have to snap that rubber band so many times.
You know what?
Oh, yeah, I know.
If they knew, right? Well, some people need more of an object to kind of divert the attention. Something your grandparents gave you, somebody, something somebody gave you that you really care about. And you
Yes.
kind of hold on to that thing and just take the energy that you feel for that thing. I don't know where I'm going here, but but if it calms you down at that point, then go for it. You know? go for it. And man, oh my gosh, I love talking to you. This is amazing. Okay.
Thanks, Lady Myya. It's good. It's good.
Yes, this is super good. And it's so interesting to me. Yeah, I'm gonna have to tell you some I got 3 things to tell you when we're done. Okay, so so if you could tell my Mayan tribe, because that was one of the ones I was going to tell you about. If you could tell my Mayan tribe, how to get to reach you, dear heart, please do.
Okay. So Mayan folks, and those of you who want to reach me, all of my books, the reason for the middle initial J is because there's an Alison Kay on Amazon with books, and so yeah, it's to distinguish. And so all my books are on Amazon. Most recent was released in January, called The Dragon Master Creatrix, Conversations with a Female Spiritual Teacher for These New Times. Story form of a woman going on a journey to ancient sites and learning energy medicine and getting attunements and getting exposure to ancient power mysteries and ancient wisdom. So the first half of every chapter is narration in story form, and the second half is me answering questions like, how do I stop caring so much what other people think about me? Not just like, how do I open my third eye? But it's pretty advanced. It's like what I talk with my most advanced students about. So that's the most recent book. Reasonable Dragons is my third book, and that's on Audible, and people love that on audible.com. They've been raving about that because I recorded that at a sacred site. I have a couple of products I recorded at Mayan ruins of clearings and activations, and they're on my website, which is vibrationalupgrade.com, or my name, Alison, 1L, just the letter J, then KAY.com, but Vibrational Upgrade seems easier to remember. In that, go into my shop and you can see there's one product even with the picture of Chichen Itza lit up in, I believe we used the pink one, and that involves, I think there's prosperity clearings on that one. And then I have a free Facebook group called Vibrational Upgrade, so you can come on in there and play too.
Look, y'all getting these gems. I'm just letting you know.
Oh, you're cute.
This is some good stuff, you guys. I mean, this stuff is going to give you a lot of different avenues on how you need to think, because sometimes we can't think straight or properly or anything to that magnitude. And so by us being able to have the freedom to think in a way that we didn't normally, this is going to give us a different perspective on life. I am so sorry. I am losing my voice. I love y'all so much. I really do. So if you would like to be on the Lady Myya, Living Your Best Life with Lady Myya show, go ahead. Hit me up at admin@ladymyya.com, or just go to my website, ladymyya.com. I'm telling you guys, you can have just as much fun as me and Dr. K. We are here acting up. A great thing. So we shall sign off. So yes, that is Myya. That is MYYA. And you know why? Because your homegirl is special. And I will talk to you guys later.
Namaste. Blessings. Bye.